Hello and of course, welcome back to the Podium Podcast, where today we'll be doing our predictions, actually scrap predictions, we're going to call it a Grand Prix preview of the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix, and second race of the 2025 season after what was an incredible first race. Hopefully we'll go into this weekend having the same amount of drama that we had, but that is unrealistic, but there are many more storylines and themes and biggest talking points that we can obviously get into. But before we get into the podcast, we are of course going to talk about Eddie Jordan for a brief moment, a pioneer of the sport, especially in the modern era. Unfortunately, today it was announced that he has passed away after a battle with cancer. He passed away peacefully in his home in Cape Town, surrounded by loved ones, family, and friends. And he was, for me, growing up, the almost face of the sport. He was the person that I tuned into on BBC, who was obviously doing the podcasting. It was the first almost voices I've heard when it came to Formula One. So it was a shock today, waking up to that news. Obviously, he will be missed around the paddock. It's just a very, very sad day for Formula One. Let's obviously talk about the Chinese Grand Prix this weekend. Let's start with last year for the 2024 Chinese Grand Prix. Wasn't really at the same time as it was regarding the year. It was round 5 because F1 decided to put Bahrain and Saudi before Australia. I think it was Japan, so it was the 5th round in late April, so we're a month earlier than what was expected last year. This does mean probably more chance of rain, we'll get into that later, but last year it was another sprint weekend. Norris took the sprint qualifying pole around here in a wet race, but in the sprint race he managed to screw it up by turn 1, which this was like the first almost instance of him getting that. Lando, can't really do much other than turn 1. But regardless, Verstappen took the win with Lando Norris in P2 and Checo Perez in P3. It was a pretty straightforward race for Red Bull. They seemed extraordinarily quick around there. It was also, I think, one of the bigger turning points for McLaren. I mean, they did have that upgrade in Miami, which pretty much saw them as title challengers. But still, it was... Norris was only 7 seconds off. Yes, there was a safety car after Lance Stroll crashed into Ricciardo at, what would it be, turn 12, I believe. Unfortunate crash, and it kind of ruined Ricciardo's race and Stroll's race, and it was a very stupid error from Stroll. But regardless, it was a new surface for 2024. Mix that in with a sprint race, there was unknowns for many of the drivers who were returning after 5 years. Some of the drivers haven't even raced there. Regardless, it was a straightforward race, for McLaren, for Red Bull, and they managed to take a 1-3. Let's talk about the biggest talking points about the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix this time round. And I think the main talking point really is the sprint weekend. It will be a sprint weekend, which means only one practice session for the drivers, which, I mean, if you're someone like Lewis Hamilton or Fernando Alonso or Max Verstappen or even Nico Hülkenberg, it is not that big of a problem. However, if you are a rookie, which is nearly, I think, a quarter of the grid now, which is unbelievable to think about, you realistically have not raced here. Formula 2 do not race here, not many support races except for F1 Academy race here. So that means this is a brand new track for them with only 60 minutes of practice. This does mean that if they were to have a moment or a malfunction or something go wrong in that free practice session on Friday, then it will cost them severely when it comes to the weekend. This is a weekend where expertise is more of a advantage than anything else. Oh, sorry, just hit my microphone. But expertise does come in hand around here. It's a very technical track as well. With only one practice session, it will cause maybe a little bit of chaos, more than we expect, hopefully. But regardless, sprint weekend, there's a lot of action going on, a lot of adjusting that some drivers will have to make. But that is all about Formula One, and I'm looking forward to see who does well whilst who really doesn't well. I think it will show which drivers are true racers in that sort of example, but it will be interesting to say the least. I think the next talking point we could talk about is, can anyone else join the title fight coming into this weekend? It is, from what we saw in Australia, it does look like it will be a case of the two McLarens against Verstappen, two McLarens against each other as well. But that was in rain, that was in conditions which are not representative at all. That was a street circuit. There's a lot of different factors that went into last weekend. However, this is a traditional circuit with a more, I suppose, a less chaotic setting. It's got a lot of runoff area. It's meant for racing. It is a track that a lot of people have driven at in the years. But still, we're going to see, can Mercedes maybe pull out something? Can Red Bull with Lawson, can Lawson step up to the plate in that sort of area? Can even Ferrari get into the mix? We'll talk about them later. We might as well talk about them now, actually, because it kind of does link into this one. The main theme I think we can try and go into this weekend with is, are Ferrari cooked, pretty much? It is going to be difficult for them, yes. However, can they make the most out of it? They should do. It is a sprint weekend. They can adjust. Their two drivers can adjust well. I mean, Lewis Hamilton's been going around Shanghai International Circuit since 2007, whilst Leclerc has had two races, 2018 and 2019. And 2024, obviously. But it is going to be a case that if they can't do well this weekend, then at least the first half of the season is looking fairly bleak for the Ferrari duo. Last weekend could be viewed as just a blip. Sometimes, setup can take a wrong turn. Sometimes in the rain, drivers might come into the first weekend and struggle. It was Lewis's first race. I mean, I'm giving every shadow of a doubt that it was just a really, really, really off weekend for them. I mean, strategy did screw them up a little bit, considering that they were running first and second, and if they pitted a lap earlier, then a podium was for certain on the cards. But it's a new weekend, it's a new start, a fresh start. They've travelled, 500 miles up to China in Asia. Hopefully I really want to see them out of France, same with Mercedes. Really want to see them go for it. This is supposed to be, if not one of the most tightest seasons. I think it'll get tighter and tighter as the year goes on, but still, seems that McLarens do have the pace advantage. I mean, even Russell today in the media was saying that they can expect to win every single Grand Prix, which is, he's putting McLaren in 2025 on the same pegging as Red Bull in 2023. I would disagree, considering that Verstappen was only 0.8 seconds off the win, and I don't think Red Bull were that close in 2023. It was still at least 5 seconds to, or even more, to the next person, but still, it will be tight. I hope it is tight anyway, but yeah, I think the next talking point also is this clampdown. The FIA have announced that they will be clamping down yet again on these flexi wings, mini DRS-esque almost implementations that especially McLaren have been using. Does this mean tighter racing? I really do hope so, because it seems that McLaren have got the most out of this mini DRS thing. But practically, it means that as you have the rear wing, there's almost another little DRS on the side pockets of the rear wing. I'm no engineer. I cannot really explain it as well as I should be able to. But there's just, honestly, is the most tiniest holes, which basically allow more air to be flown through, which means more aerodynamics, which means pretty much they could be getting apparently 25% of what DRS is worth in the corners, which is come downforce essential, especially around a track like this. This track is very downforce heavy. Yes, you do have a super long straight, but also majority of the circuit is twisting and turning, like turn 1, turn 2. You got middle sector as well. So downforce is pretty much everything around here, and it might come to being that McLaren just really haven't managed to find a loophole after this clampdown. But yeah, flexi wings were huge in 2024. Everyone pretty much had them, but I think McLaren had them. I mean, I think it was Azerbaijan, which you could see clearly that as soon as Piastri managed to get down that super long straight, his wing almost went down. Whilst when he tried to brake, his wing went up, which whilst is minimal on camera, it is absolutely massive in racing. It could give you a tenth or maybe 2/10 over your rivals, which we've seen before. It can be the make or break in a whole season, which is interesting to say the least. Let's move on to circuit check, my favorite part of the podcast. High downforce, I've said this before, very twisty and turny, the nature of Shanghai International Circuit. Red Bull do seem to be quickest around here. They seem to have it kind of nailed down. Even in Mercedes dominant eras in 2018, Ricciardo won. It doesn't seem that they go to this weekend the favourites, but I think they do have a very decent shot. 2 DRS zones. Overtaking here is okay. You're not really making an overtake into turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. That's very bold. But still, around, I suppose, I think it is... So you got turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, turn 7. I think it'll probably be turn 13. At the end of the back straight, you got DRS, you got a huge straight. That's where your overtaking happens. It's a decent little spot for it. We saw many overtakes last year around there, and I think it will be the same this year. Obviously, Pirelli have gone for the C2, C3, C4, so I don't think they're expecting more degradation than they happened in Australia. Weather-wise, Friday and Saturday seems extremely warm for China. Shanghai is looking at a high of around the 30-degree mark, or low 30s for both those days. However, I mean, I've been checking the weather across this week, and every single day I check it, and there's looking more and more chance of rain. Yes, the chances are minimal, but considering Monday I checked it, and Monday says 0% chance of rain. However, now I check it, and there is a 25% chance of rain, and this is forecasted to be overcast. I don't think it will rain. It seems like it's just going to be cloudy, but still, you never know. I don't think Shanghai is one of those places where it almost has some microclimate, as you might see in Brazil or Monaco, but you never know. We had a wet Shanghai sprint qualifying in last year, so who knows, maybe it'll happen again. Let's go on to probably the part that all of you want to hear. My predictions in places. Obviously, it is a sprint weekend, which means that we will be doing the top 3 for sprint qualifying and sprint race, as well as the normal qualifying race and the middle of the race. But sprint qualifying, I'm going to take a Verstappen pole position, whilst Piastri and Russell will finish 2nd and 3rd in that order. Will that be the same case for the sprint race? No, as I predict a Lando Norris sprint victory, as Piastri makes it McLaren 1-2, and Verstappen finishes after starting on, not pole, but he finishes on the podium in 3rd in the sprint race. Qualifying now, this is where it counts. Qualifying, I've gone for P5 Charles Leclerc. I think Ferrari will kind of make a step forward, however, I don't think that they will make as much of a step forward as we expect. P4, I've gone for George Russell because I think Mercedes do look like the 3rd quickest team out there. Not on the level of course, Verstappen or the McLarens, but still eager to get a podium if it comes in hand, which he did in Australia. Now, to come 3rd in the Chinese Grand Prix qualifying, I'm going for Piastri, whilst his teammate goes for 2nd, and Max Verstappen will take pole position in Shanghai. Debatable, yes, but I think it will be a matter of hundreds of attempts. It will be extremely close, and I'm looking forward to it. Moving on to the race, I think George Russell from starting P4 will finish in 5th position, whilst Leclerc will flip positions and finish 4th. Going on to the podiums, who do I have to win? not Lando Norris. I think Lando Norris will finish third in the Shanghai Chinese Grand Prix, whilst out of the top two between Verstappen and Piastri, I'm going to say a Piastri second position to make a McLaren 2-3, whilst Max Verstappen will take victory around Shanghai on Sunday. Bold, yes, I know, but something tells me that Red Bull have got something up their sleeve, or not Red Bull, I think Verstappen has something up his sleeve, and I think he will take the win. Let's go to the middle of the race. This is just off vibes, but I think Lando will lead, whilst Verstappen will take second, and Russell will be in third, whilst Antonelli will be in fourth, and Leclerc in fifth. This is just based off vibes. For the middle of the race, I think there is 58 laps around Shanghai. I am not too sure. Let me just check. But still, I think Verstappen will win. Not by much. I think it would be like Australia. How many laps? Sorry, I'm not really prepared of Chinese GP. 56 laps. So on lap 23, we will see. Anyway, I think that is a perfect place to wrap up the video of the Chinese Grand Prix predictions for 2025. Make sure to like and subscribe and have a simply lovely day. Goodbye.